ॐ निरञ्जनं नित्यम् अनन्तरूपं भक्तानुकम्पाधृतविग्रहं वै ईशावतारं परमेशमिड्यं तं रामकृष्णं शिरसा नमामि. Namaste and welcome to the seventh talk in this ongoing series, Mind Management Techniques, wherein we are trying to explore the inner space, the inner workings of mind, and hopefully with that knowledge we have some control and power over our own thought processes, our emotions, and ultimately over our own selves. We have been discussing various metaphors and models through which we can have a conception, a framework of how the different levels of our personality, our being, are interrelated, right from the outside world, what we perceive through our five senses, to the five senses that are embodied in our lost part of our body, to the mind and how that inner what you call instrument of internal organ works, mind, the intellect, the eye sense, and where the information or knowledge is stored in the form of sanskaras. But we have not talked much about what's beyond that also, because this mind is the instrument through which we will approach that. So let's understand the instrument and how we can fine tune it so that that instrument itself can become a means to understand what's within us, not only what's outside us. So that's the whole idea, and various frameworks have been put to give us an idea, the internal space, the mental space, the chit akasha, in which thoughts are there, all types of thoughts, our own thoughts are there. Thoughts have various qualities. Some are very low level, base level thoughts, some are very elevated thoughts. We are creating thoughts, putting energy into these thoughts and transmitting them outside. We are also receiving thoughts, and how do we decide what we want to receive? Can we put some filters to say these are the ones we don't want, and or some firewalls to block out unnecessary ones? And how do we make ourselves accessible to the better, higher quality, elevating, uplifting thoughts that give us joy and happiness and all those type of things? So some framework we have been trying to put there, and then in that we understand that yes, this mind can come down to a very low level. We might say that's a depressed mind, or it can elevate itself to another level, and we can say that's an enlightened or uplifted mind, where we feel greater joy and clarity in our thinking and understanding. So something is in our control, that we can do something about what type of thoughts and ideas we are receiving and transmitting. And naturally everyone wants to have the better one. So what are the disciplines that we can do to take our mind up? What are the obstacles that prevent us from going up? We talked about the hot air balloon and things like that that hold the mind down, and we need to disconnect. We talked about the idea of renunciation, or detaching ourselves to things that hold us down. Unless we do that, all our effort doesn't yield the result of lifting us up. So some framework we are trying to develop, and in that we talked about how a little bit of meditation and repetition of a divine name or idea can uplift this mind up. So, but we've been talking about ourselves mostly. Today I will try to expand that idea to incorporate what's beyond us, what we call the outside, the environment, the external world, because ultimately nothing is external to us in the ultimate sense. So we talked about this gross physical world in which my body is a physical body. This is part of an ocean of matter. That matter is in plants, in trees, in animals around me, on this earth, in our solar system, beyond into the galaxy. Some of it is visible, some, it's not any cells. Dark matter is there, but you can't see it. But anyway, this matter is flowing from plants to human beings and it's passing through. In between, we have got this body which we call ours, but really it's not ours because it's constantly changing. Things are coming in, we are holding it for a while, and it goes through. It's like a whirlwind. It's constantly sucking in leaves and dust and spinning them around, and then it passes it out. Or it's like a whirlpool in a river. Water comes in, spins it around and goes. It has a sense of identity, but it's not a fixed thing on its own. Likewise, in this body, we are eating food, new cells are being created, old cells are dying. So long we are able to replenish the old ones with the new ones, we are healthy and we are not aging, so to say. But when the new incomers are less than the older ones, then we see the effect of old cells, and at some point it cannot sustain itself and then it breaks down and goes to its original sources. Anyway, that we can understand very much in this physical world. In the mental world, we live in an ocean of thoughts in which our mind is a whirlpool and we suck in ideas, thoughts that are populated in that mental space have been created by other people. We have contributed as some of them to it also. But what is within our whirlpool, we call that is my mind. And when an idea floats into our mind, we become conscious of it and you think, I have thought it. No, you did not create the thought, you became aware of it when it floated into your space. It's like a bird flying into this room and going out. It was there all the time, but it came within your vision and we claim that we are thinking that force. Yes, we can take it in, we can contemplate deeply on them, we can infuse our own energy into it, and then we can throw it out in a powerful thought which can influence others. That's what is the specialty of man. Man is that center which can inject energy, thoughts, into the thoughts, and then he can throw out. It could be me doing this, it could be a teacher who has got an idea, or scientist, somebody writes a book or gives a talk or a speech. It could be a great spiritual teacher whose impact is so profound that people are still being influenced thousands of years after they have grown born. So that is the power or the space we are playing in, the mental space. And beyond that finite, then that there is something else, because the mind, the ideas, they do have to have some source. So the sages say, sages are people, we talk about rishis, scientists, who had explored the inner space and they came across certain facts. Those facts they try to state, and we call them the scriptures, and they therein mention the various observations they have made and the laws that govern the inner world. And they don't say just believe what we say. They are like the modern scientists. They say they have discovered certain facts and they invite us to come and verify it ourselves, realize it for ourselves. Do not just believe them, but whatever they have discovered, they have tried to share with us. So these people are called rishis, mantra drastas, seers of subtle truths would be the English translation. In the subtle world, in the mental world, in the spiritual space, they saw certain things and they saw the interrelationship of it, that they are trying to encode in human language and giving to us so that we can have some hint of it. This human language is not designed to discuss about the matters and topics that or experiences in the spiritual world. So they use parables and stories and analogies and similes and all those type of things to give us a hint, so to say. With that knowledge they are giving, we will not understand that, we will not experience that ourselves. We will form some concepts according to our own mental capacity. But that should galvanize us and generate some interest in us so that we also want to have that experience. It was so profound, it looked life-changing, it freed them from ignorance, from misery, it made them immortal. Wow, it's so wonderful. I too would like to have it. If this type of reading the scriptures and satsang and listening to the discourses can awaken in us that desire to have that experience ourselves and say, okay, I like that very much, but I don't want to just keep on listening to you. I want to have that experience myself. That is the trigger point, the spark that is the purpose of all those instructions and teachings are there. And if it sparks and you ignited it, well, that's good. If not, then maybe the wood is a little too wet yet, it's not dry. And if you put too much fire, you might get some smoke, but not the flame. It needs to be prepared. But it's good that we expose ourselves to that knowledge. Whenever we need it, it will come to our help. So, beyond this mental space of the Chit Akasha, which is a space where ideas and thoughts are there, so to say. Beyond that is what is called the Chit Akasha, the ocean of consciousness, in which the differences tend to become more merged into one. So as we go higher and higher and higher, the apparent differences that are at this physical world, that means you are different and I am different and I'm different from this planet and all those things, plant, animal. As we go into the mental space, they have more similarities there. And when you go at the third level, the differences become less and less, and ultimately we reach a state where there are no differences. We come to the highest common factor, the one in which all merge themselves. And that is the highest culmination of all knowledge. We found that one out of which everything has come, by which everything is sustained, into which everything goes back. That, in the technical language of the scriptures, is called Brahman. And that is the ultimate reality. So, when somebody realizes that, realizes in the sense that it has become real for that person. Okay, right now for me the world is real because I perceive this world with my eyes and hear with my ears. Is tangible, I can touch it. What about God? God is an idea, something there. I've read so many scriptures and thought about it, but I have not seen Him in His pure essence. For a person to have a realization, this world will fade away into a dream, and that spiritual consciousness will become a direct experience. That has become real for him in that sense, not simply an idea or understanding. He can see God, he can talk to Him, he can communicate with Him. That is also possible. Who says that? God Himself comes down to this world in a human form and gives that information, shares us that truth, and also teaches us the method to go to it. Such a being, when he comes, is called an incarnation of God, Avatara, Christ, Buddha, Rama, Krishna. They came to give us knowledge, this knowledge to mankind as a whole, and also teach us the method by which we can go up. Now, many will hear, some of them will become interested, others will say, I would like to take this up and see if in this life I can too also have that experience, because that's what they promise. It's doable. Otherwise, they would not say, we're just telling you something that's only for some selected, exceptionally, qualified spiritual aspirants. They say every human being can realize it. It is the divine birthright of every person. Sooner or later, in this life or hereafter, 10, 100 lifetime, there's no rest in this world until we realize that. When we understand that, say, why should I go through another 100 lives of suffering? Let me get cracking with the job and do it here and now. So that type of enthusiasm and zeal is what they try to trigger. So when Sri Ramakrishna realized this truth, that third level we are beginning to talk, the level of consciousness, what did he say? How did he experience it? I will read that out to you, because let it see what the person who himself had realized it, how did he express it. So Sri Ramakrishna said, the Divine Mother revealed to me in the Kali temple that it is she who has become everything. That means there is one being which has become or appears to be many. But behind this many, there is one. And that is a cosmic power, feminine in nature. He calls that power the Divine Mother, the Shakti of Brahman. She showed me that everything was full of consciousness. What was the common factor? Everything is full of consciousness. The image of the Divine Mother was consciousness The altar on which the image was placed, that was consciousness. The water vessels were consciousness, so the water vessels that are used for the worship, we look from there, that is also full of consciousness. The door sill was consciousness. He turned around and looked at the door, simply a wooden piece of wood there. He says that is also consciousness. The marble floor was consciousness. All was consciousness. I found everything inside the room soaked, as it were, in bliss, the bliss of God. I saw a wicked man in front of the Kali temple, but in him I also saw the power of the Divine Mother vibrating. Even that which we call bad or whatever, that same divine power is there. In good, she is manifested more. In the not so good, she is manifested less. Whatever is the good and the bad are only the coverings. She is the consciousness underlying everything. That was why I fed a cat with the food that was to be offered to the Divine Mother. So you see, he is a priest. Every day, so many times, the food is offered to the Divine Mother. Naturally, he saw with his vision there was a cat, and in the cat he saw the same divine power and a hungry cat. So he gave that food to the cat also, because he could not distinguish any difference between this cat and that divine image of the Divine Mother. So the external differences disappear, the oneness appears. I clearly perceived that all this was the Divine Mother, even the cat. This was his experience. It was not some scriptural text he was quoting or trying to explain. And he saw all these things. So when his mind would go to this high level, samadhi, he would see that everything will disappear and merge into that consciousness. And when it will descend down to this physical world, then he will begin to become aware of all these names and forms. Like you would see people communicate with them. But he will never forget that there is a one behind the many. That is always accessible to him. That's the difference between an ordinary being and an incarnation. Sri Ramakrishna would say there are a special category of people called Ishwar Kotis, who have the capacity or who are mandated by God to be the spiritual teachers in the world. They can lift their minds up to the highest plane in Samadhi. An ordinary person, when he goes there, he doesn't come back. Like a bucket of water is poured into the ocean, it just becomes one with the ocean, like that. But there are some selected beings who are called Ishwar Kotis, who are the world teachers, who can again come back into the physical body, and then they become the messengers of truth, and they communicate that spiritual knowledge to those who are ready to receive it. So that is what we say. This gives us a framework of the expanded, enlightened framework of the reality of which we are a part as an individual. We are a microcosm. Beyond that is a macrocosm, and the two are interrelated and interconnected. Today I will try to discuss a little bit about how the two are interconnected, because we live in this universe, and if we are not in the rhythm of it, then there is friction, and then we are not at peace. So you see, in every Shanti mantra, in the chanting prayer, we end with Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. There's a reason why we do it 3 times, because there are 3 categories of obstacles or disturbances that can be there when we are engaged in our spiritual practice. When we're doing that, meditating, we want to be at peace. Nothing should be disturbing us so much. So we have to pacify these forces around, so to say, so that they leave us undisturbed to engage in our spiritual discipline and contemplation. So these 3 categories of disturbance or obstacles are called Adhyatmic, Adhibhautik, Adhidevic. And we say Shanti, Shanti, Shanti to all 3 of you, so that my mind is not unnecessarily disturbed from outside, and we can focus it on this truth that we are trying to meditate on. Adhyatmic means that which pertains to me personally, within me. Adhibhautik is that which is related with other living beings around. Adi Devi is linked to the forces of nature. Okay, so when the spiritual practitioner prays to God and prays for the welfare and peace for everyone, he says, starting, let there be peace around, let there be no earthquakes and drought and fire and flood and cyclone. These are all cosmic powers that if they are not favorably disposed, then man is really agitated in the environment he is living in. Let there be a peace, let there be rhythm, let there be harmony there. Adi Bhautik related to things, not living beings around me. It could be people at your work, at your family, in the community. If they are not favorably disposed, there's the wars are going on and all those things, then where is the space for peace? So if the society, community, all living beings are in harmony, then I am also in peace. And Adhyatmic, that is to do with our own self. Let my physical health be good, because if I am sick and all that, I can't focus on higher truth. Let my mind be at peace. If mentally I am stressed out, or depressed, or sad, or worrying, or anxiety, then that mind cannot be, is not a good instrument for inner contemplation. So that's why we pray. We should not simply say Om Shanti 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 like that without understanding what it means. Let that bhava, this idea should be there. Let there be peace in nature, forces of nature. Let there be peace in all living beings, and let there be peace within me. In that peace, we can try to uplift this mind to a higher level of consciousness. So we are connected and interconnected. Modern science is trying to tell us in various ways that we are connected and interconnected at different levels. For example, in the society, suddenly we find that we are not an island in the ocean. In so many ways, we are connected to so many things throughout this world. Normally in life, in the world, we have some problems in one part of the world. It could be a cyclone, it could be an economic problem, it could be a war or something like that, but that does not really affect the rest of the world. But here, in this pandemic, one problem has come and it is global. Okay, and it has just exposed how vulnerable we are. Suddenly, the whole world has come to a standstill, and we, in spite of all our boasted knowledge of science and everything, are at a loss what to do. They're trying the best way to figure out and understand this is not going to be a normal. What is the new normal? What's the situation going to be? No one has all that clarity. Those who are wiser, more intelligent, probably can suss out a solution, try out few things, making fewer mistakes and causing less self-harm to ourselves and the society. Others will make many mistakes and blunders, and we have all types of experiences at various levels in different countries. You can see people who simply deny that it's a problem, others joke about it, others have taken it seriously. Anyway, it's all a good study to see very objectively how people, the world over, are reacting to this. Now, we want to have this a good understanding of this interconnectedness. So, what we see depends at what level our mind is. For example, if I go to the ocean and look in the ocean, when I'm outside the waves, standing on the beach, I see, if you ask me what do I see, I see so many waves. Big waves, small waves, constantly coming and going, and I can describe you to the shape of the waves and all those type of things, the color and all those things. Then somebody says, okay, don't stand outside the ocean. That's not how you will understand what it is. Come, get into the water. I said, okay, how do I do? Okay, put on this goggles and all things and some snorkeling gear and all those things and float on the water. So I put those things and I float and said, oh, I can see something more. I can see that behind all the waves and the foams, they're all made out of the same substance called water. So while the waves are different, there is something common to all of them. The waterness is there. So two things as an additional experience. I see the difference and I see something underlying the differences also. So I said, this is better than what I was seeing from outside. I have got more knowledge. This is more enlightened in the way I understand the ocean now. Then somebody said that's not good enough. If you're floating out there, you have to put on some scuba diving gear, you know. So he said, gives us the oxygen tank and all those type of things in the suit and said, dive deep in there. Of course, that requires a little bit of training. Not everyone can dive deep in there. But he teaches you. And you go down there, and what do you see? You don't see any waves. You see water, water, water. Every direction you look, the same water. So, I experience these three states depending on where I am. If I am outside, I see only the differences. If I am at this level of the water, I see the interconnectedness between the many waves. And when I go deep, I see the oneness. What is it? It's all three, but we experience it from our own relative position. So, seeing this world through the five senses is like standing on the beach and we see so many forms. Human forms, plant forms, animal forms, planets, galaxies, solar systems, and all these forms are there. Each one manifesting different degrees of power. It's the same consciousness is there, but its manifestation is more or less in the different forms. The forms, so to say, have different degree of penetration or what you call transparency through which how much light will come out of it. So if you look at a piece of stone, earth, it doesn't appear to be living. It doesn't appear to be living, but it could be living. Why? The Tamagun is so much that there's no manifestation of life force is not rolling. But you see a little bacteria. It appears to be living. It's replicating, feeding, living in the environment. But the manifestation of that consciousness is very little. We take it, move into a worm. Okay? It's small. We take it to an insect, a bird, a monkey, a dolphin, a human being. And among human beings, there are people at the lower level where the manifestation is less, and then the other end there are more. And then you go to higher forms, which might call, who don't have a physical body, subtle bodies, they have only gods. Whatever it is, there is one consciousness which is trying to manifest, and the bodies have different capacity to manifest that consciousness. So, the consciousness underlying is the common factor, but the manifestation of that consciousness depends on the type of body that is there. Evolution really doesn't mean that we came down from monkey and all that. That is the Darwin's theory. This spiritual evolution means there is one power there which is called consciousness, so to say, divine power, and these different bodies are the envelopes or the encasements through which we are successively trying to discard the lower one and take the higher one, and as it becomes less and less and less, finer and finer and finer, the light becomes brighter and brighter. Ultimately we find that all bodies are in one way or the other some form of limitation. The ideal would be to be without any body, without any limitation, and that is what freedom is about. No embodiment of any form, either gross or subtle or causal. So, this interconnectedness is there, all those forms. Names and forms are there. That is like standing on the beach. Getting into the water level is trying to see a deeper level of connectedness and interconnectedness. And where you see so many varieties are there, forms are there, differences are there, but underlying all of them, there is a oneness. And then that's taken to another higher level when the same mind becomes pure and more transparent, luminous, so to say. The same mind can be elevated to another higher level where there is that ocean of consciousness, homogeneous, undifferentiated, just like we've gone deep into the ocean. These are some of the experiences of the sages, the rishis, who had that. And they came back and reported that to us. And these are our Bible and the Gita and the Upanishads and all those things. So, what do they say? They say, oh man, you think you see through the five senses, or with the eyes and perceive the world, but there is a higher degree, another level of world, and you require another finer instrument to perceive that world. For example, here in front of me, I have a piece of cloth. And when I look through my eyes only, I can see certain things. But when I look at the same thing through a microscope and increase the power of magnification to times 10, times 100, times 1000, I'll see so many other things which are there all the time, but which were not being perceived by my physical eye. I required some instrument, a microscope, to see, to reveal to me those details. But they are all the time, whether I see them or not is another issue. Likewise, there are so many signals here in this mental space. Okay, TV, radio and all that. I don't receive them because my mind is not tuned to them. This brain is not synchronized to them. I require another instrument like a radio or TV, and when I can tune to them, suddenly all those signals that are there reveal themselves in a voice or music or movie or whatever is there. But they exist. There's much more to what our senses reveal to us, current senses. But through proper training of this mind and harnessing the powers, we can fine-tune this same mind to another level, so to say, and then that other subtle world is revealed to us. Those sadhakas, spiritual seekers who could do that, they are called the rishis, seers of the subtle truths, mantra drashtas. Mantras are the subtle truths in the mental space, in the spiritual space, and they report that to us. And what do they say? They say you are seeing, but you're not seeing the whole thing. Just like I'm looking at the table with my naked eyes, it says good, but you're not seeing the full truth. For that, you require another instrument. In the outside world, when we try to study matter, we develop so many types of technologies, microscopes, telescopes, and all those type of things. If you want to study the inner world, the inner space, we have to develop those type of microscopes and telescopes also. Meditation is that technique of developing that concentrated mind, which is like a microscope, which can zoom onto something, and that whatever is the subject of our study reveals itself. Nature is ready to reveal itself. We need to know, have the key, the instrument to unlock that knowledge for ourselves. And if it is, we don't have that equipment, internal equipment, then those things are beyond our access. So, in our concept, mental framework that we are having, the physical world we are aware of, the mental world we have been exploring. Today we are saying that beyond that is a spiritual consciousness. And what's the nature of that consciousness? Is it also a dull world like these material things? No. As it goes higher and finer, it becomes more transparent. The degree of consciousness or life in that becomes more. Its beauty, its purity, its level of peace, its goodness, its knowledge, its bliss keeps on increasing almost infinitely. So Sri Ramakrishna is saying everything was soaked in bliss, not happiness. Happiness means the misery will come on the other side. Happiness and misery are two sides of the same coin. It's beyond that, pure, unadulterated joy. What would be the word? Bliss may be the word in it. We can have some concept, but very rarely we experience that. But that is available to a yogi whose mind is in there. And when he goes there, he doesn't want to come down to this world because this is all third level experience. That is a very high level, high quality, supreme experience. He doesn't want to leave that. He merges himself in that. In that one, in just like all the waves have their oneness in the ocean, likewise in that spiritual consciousness, all living beings, human beings, plants, animals, everything that's creation has that unity there. Those who reach that, they have got that knowledge out of which, or experience of that consciousness out of which this whole universe has come. Knowing that everything is known, so to say. That's the highest experience. And human beings have that capacity of all created beings to raise themselves to have that experience. That is the glory of a human being. That they can be almost almost here at a human level, animal level almost, eating, drinking, procreating, reproducing and living this life without any meaning and purpose, or they can elevate themselves to another level where that power can transform them into something. So when Swami Vivekananda says that we have to learn how to integrate ourselves to that cosmic power, the spiritual power, and if you do that, tremendous amount of change will become manifest in everything that we do. He said, the power of the soul, the power of the spirit, the power of the Atman, when it is applied at this material level, brings about so many types of development that mankind has been able to do on this planet. When it is applied at the mental level, in the mental space, brings about great amount of intellectuality, wonderful sublime ideas and thoughts. And when it's applied on itself, it transforms a man into a god. That is the power. The power is there within us. We are having a few microamperes of current coming there and illuminating a little bit through our senses. Eyes are seeing, some ears are hearing, but that infinite power is untapped. Why? Because we are functioning at a very gross level. So how do we elevate our mind and connect ourselves to the source? But why should we want to do that? Many people say we are just happy. We are born. Society tells us that we have to go to the school and graduate with a degree and get a job and get married and have children and educate them and build a house and have some name and fame and money and all those things, and we'll become old and then we'll die. Everyone dies. Beyond that, don't ask anything. Don't ask me where did we come from. Don't ask where we are going. Don't ask who am I and why we are here. Many people are like that. Horses, in the olden days, horses will put carriages in the streets and they'll have these blinkers on the two sides. Like that, we put on these blinkers and we go very sincerely throughout lifetime, not even knowing where we are going, why we are going like that. And we are there happy with it. Others want to look around and see, understand, if I have to go through that, why should I go through so much suffering and hardship? And who am I? And where did I come from? And what's the purpose behind all this suffering and struggles in life? They seek for something higher. For those who are seeking, that seeking is the first step, so to say. And they analyze and they say, whatever they're seeking is not going to be available at this gross physical plane, but that knowledge is available at another plane, and the task is to elevate the mind to that next level, and that knowledge becomes available. Lift it to another level, and you have face to face with the spiritual truth. But no one else is going to do that for you. That person has to make that struggle themselves, and if they struggle, help will come. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, he uses in a couple of verses this phrase, Ya pashyati sa pashyati. To pashyati, pashyati means who sees. Ya pashyati means he sees who sees. Okay, that means not everyone is seeing. And so what is that seeing? And he gives an idea of that underlying oneness, and that anyone who has access, that is the real seeing. He who sees that oneness behind the many, that is the real seeing. Others are more or less blindfolded. A little bit seeing is there, so to say. So he says, Samam pashyan hi sarvatra samavasitam ishwaram nahinaste atmano atmanam tato yati parangati samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam vinashyastu avinashyantam ya pashyati sa pashyati. Samam means same. That means the scuba diving, water. Samam pashyan hi sarvati. He who sees the same water in all the waves. Samavasthitam Ishvara. Ishvara is that ocean, so to say. And all the waves are supported by that ocean. They come out of the ocean, they are sustained by the ocean, they merge into the ocean, they are made of the water, and the water is in the ocean, and the water is in the wave also, both are. So that feeling, that deep understanding behind this whole universe. Nahinasti atmana atmanam tato yati param gatim. So that means a person who sees the same thing in all, I am the what I in me is in the what I in the other person also. Apparently we are two different on the surface, but within we are the same. Such a person feels I am present in all beings and all beings are present in me. And then if I have that understanding, my natural response or action would be something will be looked upon as he is very kind to others, he is sacrificing, he is loving and caring, and all those things that tend towards that oneness. In the absence of that understanding, there is competition, there is hatred, there is greed, and there is fighting, and this is mine and this is not mine. I build my border, this is my country, all those things of differentiation and separation. So when we are unenlightened with this idea of that oneness behind this diversity, then we are more like, I would not even say animals, because animals don't fight and they don't say this is my border and that my border, you can't enter into my country or this. They say we are all free, we share. We are even worse than that in our understanding, so to say. So this deeper understanding is what is necessary to bring that harmony in the society that is there. In those societies and countries where that is there, you will find that people cooperate and help. They understand that we are connected, interconnected with each other. They give and take. They don't exploit others for their own personal. And they coexist, exist, and they coexist. Where that knowledge is not available through the education system, because these things are not taught in your primary school or secondary school, university, something like that. This is all spiritual. We are all scientific. Everything, maths, chemistry, physics, biology, English, these things will teach you. Nothing, other things are secular or whatever. When those para knowledge, para vidya, spiritual knowledge is not available to a society or the education system, then we have people who have this stunted growth, so to say. And then what do we expect? Stunted growth would be a handicap to us. And that manifests in all types of problems. So, at the core of this universe, in that oneness, there are certain principles and forces and powers that maintain a degree of harmony and rhythm. That and the peace that one feels when you go there is that rhythm that they feel without any friction and disturbance. Everything flows nicely, beautifully, because at that level, just like in the depth of the ocean, there are no waves, the current might be there, or maybe a perfect stillness at the bottom of the ocean. But when we come to the surface, then we begin to feel the waves, and on the surface of the ocean is tossing you up and down. You can't be quite there. That is the nature that at the surface we will be tossed up and down. So this world is like the surface. It's that tosses us up and down, the success and failure, happiness and misery, life and death, and everything is happening there. But deep inside, there is that oneness. If you want to have that peace, it's not going to be available to somebody who is floating on the ocean surface. One has to learn the art of diving deep. Meditation and spiritual life is about trying to have access to that higher dimension, deeper dimension of our being. Therein they experience another type of flow, and there is that peace. Now, in this cosmic macrocosm, cosm means, comes out of the word Greek, means order, the cosmic order, order that it's at the universal level. Microcosm, the order that is in the individual level within me. My personal own health and things. Macrocosm, the health of the whole environment and all beings together type of thing like that. So there is in all very advanced societies this idea of this universal rhythm. In Sanskrit, it's called rhythm. Rhythm, Satyam Vadishyami, Rhythm Vadishyami. Okay, rhythm, that cosmic order is there that harmonizes everything. In Latin, I think it's called rhythmus. In English, it's called rhythm. Okay, and that rhythm is wherever that rhythm is there you find peace. In a human body, you find a rhythm. Okay, what is that rhythm? The breath itself is a beautiful rhythm. You can see it flows in and out. You disturb that rhythm, and what happens? Hold somebody's nose, you suffocate in 2 minutes, is gone. Such is that power, that energy that Flow is the flywheel in the body that's generating that energy. And that rhythm is manifested in different levels, in different degrees, in organizations, in communities, in countries, in the universe. That is the underlying manifestation of the cosmic rhythm at the highest level. And that being the power of that cosmic power, man has to learn to tune itself, align itself with that power, and not go against it. When that happens, nature will try to realign us to that. So let's have a look at this idea of this rhythm. And I'll give some examples, but you think about it through your own experience and experiences of the world, what type of rhythm is there. Wherever this rhythm is there, then there's beauty and peace. Okay, so you see, there's rhythm in the way the earth revolves around. Precisely at the same time, the sun comes and moves. There's rhythm in the moons going around the sun, and that has got a profound effect on these different cycles, on plants and animals, on this living being. If that goes, suppose, out of the way, the moon says, I'm going to take 35 days this time to go around this earth. That is not going to work, everything will go out of order. Then you've got these 4 seasons, and there you see this flow of the things there. The monsoon comes to India precisely almost in the same week. If it comes a little late in this, then the whole crop production and all those things goes away. There's a rhythm in there. How the earth goes around the sun. Likewise, you can see a rhythm everywhere. And rhythm means there's a flow. Go with the flow, they say. Don't go against it, don't fight it. Go with the flow. So what does a flow mean? A flow means it's a flow of energy, a flow of money, a flow of water, a flow of heat, a flow of people, or whatever is there, from one level to another level, from higher level to a lower level. So when you say flow of heat, it flows from the higher level to lower place. Water flows from a higher pressure to lower pressure. Money flows from a person who has got more money to less money. Knowledge flows from a person who has got more knowledge to less knowledge. Everywhere there is a flow because the world is not harmonized. There is differentiation is there, and in that differentiation it creates a flow. Okay, but the flows that are built in a natural way have a sustainability loop into it. So suppose somebody when the money flows from a rich person to a poor person, in return there is flow of work that goes or production that goes to the rich person, and in that cycle I work for you, create this, do this work that I will produce the things in your factory, in return you will give money. So long that is running in a harmonious way, that means balance, and there's not exploitation and all those type of things, that cycle will maintain into its own loop. You see this loops, cycles, the water cycle, the nitrogen cycle, the carbon cycle, the economic cycle, and all those things are there. The problem is when those cycles, self-sustaining cycles, are obstructed for any reason, then it upsets the balance. It could be, people are not spending certain amount of money, everyone is saving, so you go into a recession. Money is there, but it's not flowing now. Okay, and it creates a problem. That could be something that has been done by man deliberately or whatever, and we go through the cycles. But here we have got another situation where the flow around the world has become somehow stopped. It's caused by a virus, you say. Okay, now it's good or bad, and how we handle it, how we manage it. Different people are having their own understanding. Some of them are very, very superficial. Let's simply sit down quietly, let this virus pass, and then we'll go back to do our own things. Others, we can see now, people are writing and articulating that, hey, look, while we sat down and went back into our homes and reflected, we see so many good things are happening also there. Because this planet does not belong to this one species called human beings only. We are one among many here, and we have to learn how to exist in and coexist in harmony, because we are dependent on each other. The plants are necessary for us because we produce carbon dioxide and plants take that carbon dioxide and produce oxygen, and there's a cycle there. And when we disrupt that cycle by cutting down too many trees and everything, that's going to be counterproductive to us. But man, even though he understands it and he talks about it, global warming and all this and that, but he is not sincere about doing anything about it. The result would be that if you continue like this, then this planet will become inhabitable. And we can see the dangers, the huge cyclones that are forming, the extreme droughts are there, the fires are there, all those things are there because somehow deep there we have disturbed that balance that is there. And we don't want to do anything about it to fix it, so to say. So you'll find that there are people, you can see a lot of people are writing and saying that, look, air is becoming clearer, water is becoming clearer, animals are coming out, plants are growing, there's so much more peace in there because man by force has been locked down for the time being. And if he says that when I get back I'll try to do the same thing again, then we'll not have learned a lesson. This is a global lesson. Like I said, certain problems are there at an individual level in one corner of the world. It doesn't affect very much the others, but here we are all affected because we are all sharing this one planet, and it's not only ours. Okay, it is for everyone. How we can exist and coexist with all other living beings, at least live in harmony as human beings, live in harmony with other animals who cohabit this planet, plants, and the forces of nature. And if we can find our place and attune ourselves to that rhythm, we will get back into a more peaceful world. If we don't, then nature has its own way to put us in the right place. So we must not underestimate the force of nature. That power comes from a deeper level. So that cosmic power of the divine, when I say use the word divine, it means that cosmic consciousness. That is of a superior level, that this consciousness that is present as in a human being, and that runs the show. And actually, that is what is the fundamental existence behind everything. So when Sri Ramakrishna I read that, he says the Divine Mother showed to me that apparently behind all the forms of the statue and the water vessels and the altar and the door sill and the person there who is wicked and the cat, behind them all is the cosmic principle, consciousness, palpitating, alive. It's not just simply there. That power runs the show. If we are aware of that power and can attune ourselves to that power, then we find that our own personal individual lives will be more harmonized, more enlightened, so to say. But if we are blind to that, so to say, then we are in the darkness, making mistakes, falling, stumbling, doing more damage to ourselves and damage around there. So it's very important that our understanding of who we are and what the world is outside, how we are connected and interconnected, and what is behind this physical world, behind the mental world, what is that spiritual entity that is the source of everything. That comprehensive global picture, that framework, if it is not there, macrocosmic understanding, then we are not able to understand why we are here, what is our role, whether what we are doing is right or not right, how does it fit. We are not attuned to that cosmic flow of energy, which is the law of creation, the rhythm, the harmony that is there. So how do we do that? We have to develop that sensitivity and that awareness to the bigger world that is around there. And to do that, we have to become quiet, calm ourselves down, open our ears, open our eyes, open our spiritual, mental eyes and spiritual eyes, and become aware of that relationship. You can expedite that process from the experiences and the teachings of those who have had that experience. For example, in our education system, what do? We don't go and say, I'm going to learn physics and maths on our own. Of course, you can do that. You might, how much progress one will make. But if we say, I'm going to benefit from what others have discovered in front of us and recorded systematically in our subjects and textbooks. I'm going to use that, and so in very quick time we have learned so much more. Likewise, if we are smart and humble also, then we will also learn from the experiences and teachings of the spiritual teachers who have recorded and revealed to us and shared with us their experiences, and with that we can also enlighten ourselves in a spiritual way. And armed with that both knowledge of the external physical world and knowledge of the inner world, the spiritual world. Aparavidya is the knowledge of the sciences by which at most we might get our food, clothing and shelter through some job. Beyond that is called Paravidya, the knowledge of our own inner workings of our mind and our spirits, so that we understand who we are. And when you get them both and harmonize them together, that will make life more meaningful. And that is when we will understand who we are, at least intellectually, where we are going, what is the meaning and purpose behind this life, and every now and then we will check ourselves. Are we moving in the direction? Are we making an effort to achieve that which man was supposed to do? Without that, we are in this jungle of this world with no map and no compass, and just going round and round in circles, colliding with each other, creating more chaos. Knowledge can light up that path, that journey, and spiritual knowledge about our higher self, is very, very important. Therefore, one must take some time daily to have that culture of reflecting, studying, putting into practice. And that's for our own peace of mind, for our own spiritual growth. If you just become busy from morning to evening, trying to do things without the spiritual component in there, then at the end of the day, we might have a lot of money in the bank, but our spiritual bank account is not much is there. Physically, we are very, very nice and healthy. The mental body is a little starved. The spiritual body is things like a blade of bamboo grass, as they say. Not fed at all, no exercise given, and so what? The physical body drops off. We don't have much sustenance and strength in there. To be healthy, one has to be healthy physically, emotionally, mentally, morally, and spiritually. We have to be strong at all levels of our being. That is true strength, not only physical strength. And how do we do that? Where is the source of that strength? Where is the power? That is at the deeper level of our being. How we can connect ourselves to that, how much we can draw out from that to nourish each level of our being, so that we are strong. And strength is life, Swamiji says. Strength is life, weakness is death. So that knowledge will give us strength, and spiritual knowledge gives us the greatest degree of strength. So today, to sum up, we talked about not only our individual self, but how we are connected and interconnected at various levels in this universe. We are just as a physical being, a part of this physical world. At a mental being, we are a whirlpool in that ocean of mind. Ideas are flowing through. They're not your ideas. We catch them, we use them, we toss them out. But as we go higher and deeper into ourselves, the differences become less and less and less, until there is a spiritual dimension of our being, and in there we are all one. And that one is like the depths of the ocean. It's full of peace and blessedness and calmness, without any tossing and turning. But as we come to the surface of the ocean, then the very nature of the waves will take you to the crest in one moment, and you bring you down to the trough at another moment, and you can't do anything about it so long you remain there. How do we learn that art of diving deep within ourselves? That is what meditation is, a very ancient, tried and tested technique through which we withdraw ourselves from the outside world and try to learn the skill of scuba diving, so to say, into the depths, and that's where we find that supreme peace. So, but in the world that we live, we have to learn how to live in harmony with them. Otherwise, you're trying to dive deep within, and outside there is so much chaos which we have contributed to creating also, and they come back to us. It's like a boomerang. Throw it out, it comes back to us. So how do we harmonize ourselves with the external world, and the world doesn't disturb us? Then we can do the real work for which we have come, and that is how to discover, remove the coverings, and recover, so to say, our spiritual knowledge of our spiritual self. That is the purpose of life. A little bit of time to contemplate, to study, even a little bit is a great help. Swalpamasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhaya. A little bit of this knowledge dispels great fear. And that is the power of spiritual knowledge. We will continue this talks series. It goes around the internal world, the spiritual world, and slowly try to get a better, clearer idea of the spiritual essence, and then how that can be integrated into our everyday life. It's not just about thinking about it, because that power, the spiritual power, is ever present inside us. It's not something separate out there. And everything that we do at our mental level and physical level is done because of the presence of that spiritual power. We are not aware of it all the time, how to develop that sensitivity to it, and how to commune with that power so that it's more gracious to us and uplifts us from this physical mundane experience and gives us a glimpse and experience of that higher truth of what we are and what the world is. This is the seventh in the series of this mind management techniques, and somebody suggested if we can have some questions and answers. So if you have some questions related to the topic that we're doing, think about your question very clearly, articulate it so that it's useful for you and maybe for others, and you can put that on the Vedanta Oakland Facebook. Only I will be able to see your question because that's not shared with anyone, and I will try to see in the future talks if I can answer some of the questions in the topics that I will discuss. So feel free to send them, and hopefully we can have a little bit of interaction. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.